Man, I mean, Steve Bannon can't seem to stop floating this idea of a third term for Donald Trump, and also other people within the MAGA movement that keep flirting with this idea that Donald Trump is gonna run for election again in 2028. And they always use the BS notion that, Trump won with such an overwhelming victory, but that's not true. He won the popular vote by 1.5 percentage points. Not a very big margin of victory. More people voted against Trump than for Trump when you count the third party votes. You look at his approval rating, which is tanking on a weekly basis because people are not happy with the moves that he and Elon Musk are making, firing people, going after Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. Talking about invading Panama, taking over Greenland, Canada, all of that stuff, the tariffs, people ain't feeling it. So this whole idea that Trump is overwhelmingly popular and we might as well give him a third term, that's just not going to fly. um and it's still something that I think that people should not take lightly, because in 2020, January 6, 2021, thousands of people stormed the Capitol on Trump's behest. He continues to deny the fact that he lost the election in 2020, and he is at war with the court system. So he has demonstrated that he will try to do whatever. We'll have to see what happens. But Steve Bannon keeps floating this idea. So let's check out and see what he has to say. My computer's running a bit slow, but we should be good.
So the only thing that you're not going to like talking about, we'll talk about first. I'm watching CPAC, and they put up a poll of potential, next generation, right? Post Trump. You are second on the list after the VP. As
look at how much that drops though. JD Vance 61%. And I mean, he's just a joke, honestly. Like, people, he's not really a good fit for Donald Trump, and he doesn't have any type of charisma, personality, or command. That, I mean, that's no, he's definitely not the heir apparent. But the next person is Bannon with 12%, and all these other people. I mean, this just goes to show as well that the Republican Party really put too many of their eggs in one basket with Donald Trump. They treat him like he's in his 40s or 50s or even 60s, but the dude's almost 80 years old and he lives on a diet of spite and McDonald's. So, yeah, I mean, once this guy's gone, what the hell does the Republican Party have left? They've completely sold their soul to this dude.
people getting the nod at CPAC to be president, a lot of people were surprised by this. My first question: you have anything to do with putting your name in that list because you have presidential ambitions?
No. And President Trump, I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge.
And again, like the idea, we've already discussed the BS about how they won with an overwhelming mandate. Steve Bannon knows that isn't true. They know it's not true. They're not concerned about democracy. But it's just like, even if that were true, so what? We should just go against the Constitution just because of that. And the idea that people like Trump only come around like once every 100 years. But yeah, but he's a complete rabid piece of shit. So there's really nothing to brag about. But I mean, but again, like I said, don't overlook this because of what these people have already done.
Supporter, want to see him again in 2028.
And obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence doesn't. He's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have
a
couple of alternatives. Let's say that. We'll see. We'll see what the definition. We'll see what the definition of term. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
See, again, and he got that little smirk on his face. Talking about, we're working on it. But there's no legal way for them to do this, and he knows that. He knows that. And again, that's why they're at war with the administrative state, because they want the executive branch to have absolute power. That's what Steve Bannon wants. It's just they're so transparent, and so much so that they either tell you what they're going to do, or, you know, he has this little smirk on his face like, oh, well, you remember what we did January 6th?
All right. Well, so you're talking about litigating this issue, because I don't want people to listen to our interview and say Bannon's is. What do you suggest?
Chris, as you know, I've had greater long shots than this. When we supported President Trump after the election, I realize you don't believe the election in 2020 is stolen. We do. We fervently believe that. When President Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago on January 20th, 2021, he was the longest of long shots to return to the White House. We said that day in our podcast and doubled down President Trump's back. He's coming back not just to win the start working on all the policies, what's called Project 2025 or the America First Policy Institute, but all those different think tanks that started putting in the policies that you're seeing today in what we call Flood the Zone or Days of Thunder, or however you want to describe it. But this is many years in the making. So we've had greater long shots than Trump 2028, and we've got a lot of stuff.
No, you haven't. How have you had greater long shots than something that's completely against the Constitution? That's not like that this doesn't happen anymore. You know, people aren't winning more than 2 presidencies. That's not a thing since FDR was in office. That doesn't happen. So how can you say we've had bigger long shots than this? But he can't even lay out a path forward for that to happen in any type of legal way. It's just, they're just authoritarians, and there's nothing else to say about it.
We're working on there. We're not prepared to talk about it publicly, but in a couple of months, I think we will be.
But you are not suggesting revolution or overthrow or anything that people would condemn.
Chris, we just won one of the biggest sweeping victories. We're in the middle of a 1932 type realignment. If we can continue on and continue to have populist policies, populist nationalist policies, we have African American men coming to our side. We have Hispanics coming to our side. So no, we're a huge believer in democracy, because we know how to get voters out to support this.
Bro, I mean, this is just the Republican Party. The whole political, especially federal establishment is at its wit's end, and there's, you know, so many new people need to be voted in. All these old dinosaurs need to be voted out. Campaign finance laws need to be passed. I mean, there's just so much shit that we need to do. But, you know, the Republican Party in particular, like I said, they've really stepped in it with Donald Trump, because after him, nobody else has any type of commanding presence within the party at all. And the stuff that they're talking about, you know, a 3rd term for Trump instead of another person who can carry the torch. Like, this shit is really just about Donald Trump. It's just a cult. It's not deeper than that. And, you know, you got all these people in his administration, the most corrupt administration in modern history, just going to destroy all these, you know, like the Environmental Protection Agency, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Department of Education, all of that stuff. They're just dismantling it and kissing Trump's behind. That's all this is.
The anti-democratic forces, I think you're seeing them today in the courts. I mean, they're trying to obstruct a sitting president of the United States from fulfilling his executive mandate. So no, we're the big believers in democracy, and we show it because we won this unbelievable come from behind, not just in 16, as you know, but in 2024 when virtually everybody ruled Trump out.
There's no question about that. And in 2024, people did not see him making the kind of comeback that he did. And that is certainly a historical comeback, no question. But I just wanted to make it clear for people so that they can't paint you as, you know, suggesting revolution. Your analogy is to 32 and how FDR extended it. You know, the Constitution probably gets in the way.
But I firmly believe in the revolution you're seeing going on now, the revolution of common sense to deconstruct the administrative state. You're seeing that battle and that combat politically and legally in federal courts.
Yeah, and the federal courts are kicking back at y'all. See, that's the other thing too. You know, like the stuff that these people are trying to do is not just going. You know, they're not getting away with a lot of it. The judges are kicking them back on who they can and can't fire, terminating U.S. aid, who they can and can't deport, what they can and can't shut down. Like they're facing resistance. So you know, like and their attempts to destruct the administrative state again is so that they can loot the treasury, make it so that federal programs and federal agencies can investigate people like Elon Musk as much, can investigate banks and make them pay you back if they've ripped you off. You know, make sure the Environmental Protection Agency and other places like that can't do what they're supposed to do. But this isn't new. This didn't come about with Donald Trump. It's just a continuation of what the Republican agenda has been. The only difference now is that they've put all their eggs into the Donald Trump basket, and there's just no there's no grace or elegance or smoothness with what they're doing. It's cartoonish, and it's destroying the country. Hey now, thank you so much for tuning in here at Politics and Paper. If you like what I do and you support my work, go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it and really helps to support what we do here.